My name is Susan Tussey, and I'm responsible for communications and outreach here at Globus. And with me, I have Charlie Whitehead, who is going to be presenting today. He is one of our key developers here at Globus, and he will be giving a talk on Keycloak and Globus Auth. So, Charlie, let's get started.
All right. Thank you, Susan. As Susan said, my name is Charlie, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can set up a Keycloak server and integrate it with Globus Auth so that you can access protected resources, log into Globus with Keycloak identity, and towards the end, even cover some multi-factor authentication configuration. So, just starting off with what we will cover and what we will not cover, we will be going over how to set up Globus Auth as a client on your Keycloak server, how to configure Keycloak as an OIDC-compliant IDP. That will be sort of the bulk of this presentation. Uh, you'll learn how to log in through Keycloak to access protected resources, as well as requiring and validating MFA with your Keycloak server. We won't be going over how to install or start Keycloak because there are numerous different methods of installation and startup. Um, we won't be going over how to install Globus Connect server. There's some great documentation on our website. And we also won't go over how to configure Keycloak with an external user database through something like LDAP. Um, so without further ado, let's get started. So Globus Auth as a client um, for your Keycloak server uh, will act as an OIDC client, uh, and it's going to need a valid redirect URI. Unfortunately, we actually provide a valid redirect URI for Globus Auth, uh, and this is it. It will route to one of the Globus Auth API routes to allow an authentication flow to take place. And then Keycloak acting as your server will need to send some specific claims, specifically the username claim, which we like to be in the form of username at institution.edu, although um, it's a little more flexible than that. And the name of that claim is going to be preferred username by default in Keycloak, although you can change this if you like. And then your ID claim, uh, we like for that to be a UUID, and that'll be called sub by default in Keycloak. So that concludes the slides for this presentation. The rest is going to be a live demonstration on setting up a Keycloak server and using it with Globus Auth. Are there any questions up to this point? All right, let's get started. So a few things I already have in place. I have a Keycloak server. I have my realm here, as well as one user. Oh, I need to log in again. Hmm, Okay, there we go. So I have a user already created um, with a password. Uh, Keycloak has generated a UUID for my user. Um, Although if you're importing from an external database, Keycloak probably will not need to generate that for you. Um, So the first thing that we are going to want to do is create our client. So we go to create client. We want an OIDC client. Um, we can give it whatever kind of ID we want. I'll just call it Globus Auth. We want client authentication enabled, and standard flow is all that we need for the purposes of this demonstration. And then our valid redirect URI, as was shown in the slide earlier, it's going to be this API URL. So then we can save it, and our client was created successfully. So a few things that we're going to want to save for later are our client ID, which I will take note of right here. Our client secret, which was generated for us under credentials. You can see it there. We'll just copy it. And then our discovery URL, where auth can find our OIDC configuration. That'll be under realm settings, and then our OpenID endpoint configuration. So this was all generated by Keycloak for us. And we just need the URL. So we'll copy that and paste it there. And then on the Globus Auth client itself, just to sort of see what it does, you can go to client scopes, evaluate. I can select my user, and then it'll show me, say, a generated access token. In here, you can find the subclaim, as well as the preferred username, and various other claims that will be sent as well. So now that we have that all in place, we can go over to the Globus side of things. So we are going to, I've already set up an endpoint, but I'm going to set up a node as well. And then I'm going to use the public IPv4 address of where I'm running this GCS instance. And that'll just take a few seconds. All right. Now I can log in. It'll have me authenticate. All right, so now that I'm logged into my endpoint, I need to set a subscription ID on it um, in order to later on enable high assurance as well as MFA. So if you're not using MFA or a high assurance collection, you don't need to set a subscription ID, but just so we don't need to create another endpoint later. We'll just use the default. All right. So now we can register our OIDC server. And for that, we will need a display name. We'll call it Keycloak OIDC demo server. It'll need the discovery URL, which we took note of earlier. You'll need the client ID for Globus Auth, which we had already set as Globus Auth, the client secret, and then we need to set the username and ID claims. And we'll just use what Keycloak gave us out of the box. And then lastly, we'll need a support contact and support email. All right, and with that, we can hit enter. And it says it's been registered, so I can run sudo globus connect server OIDC show, and it will show me the configuration for this OIDC server. So that's the creation of our OIDC server. And now to show you how you can require an identity from this server on a protected resource, let's create a storage gateway. Call it Keycloak OIDC demo storage gateway. We need the domain. And then just for when we set up MFA later, we'll make it high assurance for right now. And set a timeout of 30 minutes. All right, so there's our storage gateway ID. I'll just copy it to my clipboard. Now I'll create a collection. Um, I have a sharing folder uh, here, so that'll be the root of this collection. And there's our collection ID. So now I can head over to Globus in the web app, and I can search for this collection. And there it is. And it says that I need an identity from my Keycloak server. So I can go to continue, and it'll tell me to link an identity. So I can log in here with the user that I created. Interesting. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure what happened there. Um, but now I'm logged in. I can look at my identities. There's my Keycloak identity. Um, and I'm able to access the resources now. So now, how do we enable multi-factor authentication or require multi-factor authentication? So the first thing that we will need to do is go back to our Keycloak server and go to our realm settings. And unfortunately, with the capabilities of Globus Auth out of the box, we can't finely tune this to require MFA or not MFA based on the collection. We can only have it always go MFA or never. So in this case, we want MFA. So this is the claim that Globus Auth will recognize, and we'll give it a value of 1. And then if we go to authentication, we can customize our browser flow. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do here, a lot of fun authentication flows you can create. But just keeping it simple, we will require a one-time password. So it was conditional, now it's required. And that's all we need to do on the Keycloak side. Going back to our Globus Connect server, we're going to add the Keycloak user as an administrator on this endpoint. All right, so the role's been created, and now we can update my session so that I've now logged in with MFA. So server session update. It will generate a link. Due to cookies being saved in my browser, I'm just going to copy that link and open an incognito window. And now it's going to make me sign in again. And it presents me with a QR code to get a one-time password. So take out my handy dandy cell phone, follow the code. Okay, so now that I'm logged in with my primary identity, I can go ahead and hit continue because it still requires that I authenticate with this user. And it will take me to my Keycloak's sign-in page. And now it will require a one-time code. So I'm pulling out my handy dandy cell phone again, open up Duo and type in the code that it gives me. And I have authenticated with multi-factor authentication. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you.